It is the month of October. So you got Halloween, you got deer hunting, and you got some good bass fishing in this month. This is the month that I look at cold fronts are really gonna start. That's when I'm gonna pull the cold weather gear out for those morning runs. Also fog delays if you're a tournament bass fisherman. This is the month of fog delays. It just is what it is, and that's part of it. But I'm gonna run down through some things, and as always, we try to do something a little bit different every single month, giving you guys a little bit of an understanding of what's sort of going through my mindset, and maybe what the fish are doing a little bit more, and what the bait selection of the month. So the first bait that I'm gonna choose this month is one that just catches them, okay? We've sort of got through the dog days of summer. Now we have some cold fronts, your water temperatures start to drop off. You get some cold weather. And so I'm not saying cold. Cold is relative. Cold fronts, that's when I transition back from like a slimmer profile bait, like maybe like a brush hog style bait or like a worm, to now I'm going back to a jig. Okay, right here I have a finesse jig. This is a small finesse jig. And this guy right here is actually like actually a blue rock jig, a little custom company out of Ohio. And so smaller profile jigs typically is what I like. On the back of it, some sort of crawl. This is the cleanup crawl from Crush City. It is still not out yet, so I apologize, but it will be available in mid-November, okay? So like November 15th. So what I did here, actually my buddy, I have a celebrity guest that's gonna show up on this video. So he's got one pick, and he was actually in my boat the other day, and he picked up the cleanup crawl and that green pumpkin chartreuse pepper. I didn't know it was a green pumpkin chartreuse. So chartreuse pepper, and it just gives it a little bit more flash. So if the fish are eating on gills and whatnot, that was a good little deal. But I typically will just throw like green pumpkin, or like green pumpkin watermelon. And a jig is just gonna be good day in and day out when you're getting around, you know, obviously wood, docks. This is like sort of the winter drawdown period too. A lot of these lakes start to have winter drawdown. If you're in Kentucky and some areas of the country, sometimes we're not getting a lot of rain, so there's not gonna be a lot of flow. So jig to me is just an all around good bait. Half ounce typically is what I choose, or something like in that category. Finesse jig style, the bait's small, it just gets bites. So that's the bait that I'm gonna have, just flipping around, 7-3 heavy action, so I can skip a dock, I can pitch a bluff, I can pitch a lay down. That's what I'm thinking. 17-pound line if you're not in super heavy cover, 20 if you are. I typically choose fluorocarbon, 8:3 to 1 gear ratio reel is what I prefer, but that's sort of just my mindset behind that. Number 2 on the list will be a jerk bait, okay? A jerk bait, the big key with this is a shadow wrap deep. And the big key with this guy right here, I got it in the O-ring right there. Whether it's the shadow wrap deep or it's, a husky jerk or an X-Wrap, it's all, you choose your jerk bait depending on the depth of water you're really trying to fish. I like a shadow wrap deep just because if I'm fishing in that 6 to 7 foot of water depth zone, it gets bites. And so if I'm trying to go a little bit shallower, I might throw an X-Wrap and snap it fast. The key with this technique this time of year, okay, is fishing it fast. It is not a bait that I'm going to be jerk, pause, like in the winter time. But I'm gonna go throw it near like lay downs, throw it shallow, around grass, and jerk, stop, jerk, stop, jerk, stop, and try to constantly move the bait and really sort of get the reaction strike. Because these fish are really gonna be like, they're gonna be mindset is more bait fish related, shad profiles and stuff like that. But you have to get them to react. And a jerk bait is actually one of the better baits in the fall. You hear topwaters a lot, but a jerk bait is one of my favorites. And so I'm gonna bring actually the map. You guys, the paper maps. You guys know me, I've got on the paper map game. This one's Lake Ouachita. It's actually Lake Ouachita. I think this is from the old Forest Wood Cup time. And so here's a lake, Lake Ouachita. You got the river systems. You have the main lake right here. So jerkbait might be on the flats, on some of these points, these secondary points, and some of these creeks like right in here, some of those secondary points. If there's grass, those outside edges, any of those bigger flats. Flats is the name of the game still in the fall. We are still in that period for the most part, unless the water's getting drawn down some of those steeper banks. It'll transition here soon, but the flatter banks typically for me on the edges of those flatter banks are key. Or you start to get where like bluff ends, and we hear the word bluff end, A lot of times it's just like the creek channel swings up. Let me find a good one. So here's a creek channel that swings up really tight to the map right there, and there's like a little point right there. It's like a bluff end. It's probably steep. It's really not super steep right there. Maybe even out here. The tighter that creek channel swings in there, that's sort of your bluff end sort of stuff. That'll start to transition to make bigger. That'll be better later on too as well. But those flats are definitely gonna be key. A jerk bait, you can use it really anywhere there's a lot of bait. So the bait or the fish are really keying in on the bait. So jerk bait would be number 2. Number 3, you guys know me, gotta have a top water in there. This is my buzz bait. This is a Jacob Wheeler Signature Series buzz bait from Accent. The company used to be in Indiana, now they are down in Alabama, actually real close to Gunnersville. I have a toad on it right now, but I will transition between a toad. So I actually put it over the top of it. And so what I'll do is I actually cut a little bit off the sides and then I thread it over the top of that buzz bait. Big key with a buzz bait, the sound. So like the buzz bait just is always a bait that just gets bites, and you can cover a lot of water with it. Like when you don't know what's going on, like when I don't have an understanding of what's going on in the lake, but I know I can sort of like I can cover more water no matter what the cover is with a buzz bait like this one right here, and I can throw it far with a toad on the back of it. So it's just, it covers a lot of water. I can get an understanding, hey, they're on steeper stuff, they're on flatter stuff, they're on wood. Wood's a really big cover type this time of year as well. A lot of times those fish will really get on wood. So that is definitely one that I'm gonna have. White, black, I mean, you can sort of transition between a couple different colors. The only thing I will do is with a buzz bait, is if they're on really small bait, I don't want a toad. I want like a small craw on the back of my buzz bait, just to sort of give it a little, and I cut my skirt up a little bit more. So that's, and then with this on buzz bait, like again, I can bring the mat back out, but it really comes down to fishing bigger. I might literally put my trolling motor down and just go in a creek. Especially, the key is you gotta run wind a lot of times. I'll throw a buzz bait all day long. But it could be a black, flat, or it can be like a bluebird sky fall day. But you do need a little bit of a ripple on the water this time of year. So make sure if I'm gonna run, I would rather run the sunny side of a creek arm that has wind on it than the shaded side of the creek arm with no wind and it's dead flat calm. For me, that's just me. So buzz bait, definitely on that I do throw a 40-pound Suffolk's braid. This is actually 832 braid with my 7-foot medium heavy action. You just want something like a 7-footer, 6'10", somewhere in there. So without further ado, I am gonna bring my friend in, celebrity guest. I have one more bait for myself, but I'm gonna have, he gets one more bait, or one bait. And so I'm gonna bring the celebrity guest in. This one's caught a lot of bass in the day. And so with no further ado, my buddy, Justin Martin.
I don't wanna show it yet.
Don't show the top secret stuff.
This is like my college game day pick here.
College game day.
Yeah, I mean, it's football season, right? They always bring in a guest picker.
Yeah.
So, you know, I fish a little in the fall, but this is really when I transition to hunting.
You're probably killing a few ducks.
Very few this year. Yeah, very few. Not very
They're
many
few and
at
far
all.
between.
However, I do like fishing this time of year because for me, back home in Louisiana, I can put the flipping stuff up and the dobbing stuff, and I can get back out what I really like to do, cranking.
Cranking.
I love cranking. You know me. I love reeling.
I'm a winder.
He's a winder from way back.
He's a winder, he is.
So, and back home, like in the Washita River and stuff, the bait is really small that they get on. So, like, that's why I love the OG Tiny.
Yeah.
And it's made by Ott, so he's a good guy. We can support him, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's factual.
Otter's good people, but OG Tiny, and it gets a lot of bites.
It does.
A lot of bites from sometimes non-target species. Sometimes if crappie are up there chasing the bait too, they will eat him.
That looks like a...
I don't know what color he is.
That's green. That's like a green gizzard.
Green gizzard.
Yep.
So that's a good one. Great shad
That's
imitator.
a good shad imitator, yeah.
And that's kind of for like those cold front days. It seems like Tiny works better, but you can even bust out the square bills again.
Yeah.
And back home,
the Rocco. Back home, the water will still have a little stain to it. So something with a little chartreuse to kind of get their heads right. This one is bruised citrus shad. That sucker's bad to the bone.
So
he's such a pretty color. I've talked to him on the channel.
He's good. He's like the black and chartreuse square bill, but they put white sides on it.
Yeah, you just sort of tone him down a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Water ain't it's not real muddy, so you just got to tone him down a little bit.
So those are like, I mean, that's a 1A and 1B pick for me because I can just pick up a cranking rod and go down the bank and have fun again.
That's fair.
I don't have to have the patience. I don't have to sit there and do this. I can
cover
throw that
a lot of
thing
water.
around, cover water, keep moving, scout for ducks. If I see deer sign, you know, mark
sort of
that
know
on a
what's
map
up.
too.
Yeah.
So like you can do a lot of things in the fall. And generally, like the water's pretty empty. All the hunters have hit the woods. So you can go have more fun. But those are my picks. We're cranking, baby.
All right.
We're cranking.
So you got Martin's picks. Appreciate you being here. And in addition to that, I'm going to get my last pick. It's going to be a glide bait. We're going into the different end of the spectrum. I'm going hog hunting, my friends.
Now, see, that's big.
Now, okay, so this is the deal. This is an Arashi glide. I've caught some big ones on this. I actually caught a couple big ones on the channel on this. A 9, I think I caught like an 8, a 7. I've caught some big ones on this. So the glide for me is just a bait that you can't, it takes time to throw it in places, okay? I don't typically, I will go down the bank with it, but I now have to sort of know there's fish around, okay? It's also a really good bait to draw big ones out. The thing is like it's a bait that if I'm looking for that great big fish that kicker fish or catch a big one fish in a day. Like my goal is to catch one. That's when I'll throw a glide. And there's sometimes I'll catch 6 or 8 bass on it in a day. But most of the days, no. Most of the days, no. You're only gonna catch a couple, but they can be great big ones. I mean, I went to your pond right there in Canyon. I caught a couple 7-pounders in practice. Didn't catch any on it in the tournament, but it's just about going out there and being able to draw the fish. The fish are still there. What this bait really allows you to understand is all the bass that you know live in the lake that you're fishing that you aren't getting a bite on are still there. And they'll follow this, but they won't bite it. They might not bite it.
You can see them.
You're gonna notice they're there. Now, I've caught them still. I have caught them. So just slow glides seems to be the best for me, but there's a lot of different glides out there on the market, but this one's one that I've caught several fish on it. It won't break the bank, and it's one that I definitely recommend. 7.6 heavy, 20-pound fluorocarbon is what I like to use. If I'm trying to keep it up a little bit more, I will go to like a 20-pound mono or a 25-pound mono. So that's the rundown of October baits of the month. Martin, I appreciate you hopping in. We got some fishing to do. We're actually gonna go reel a few bass in the month of October right now. We appreciate you following along, and make sure to check out my guy's channel. We'll put a link in the description below with his information. Make sure to check out his channel and what he does every single day.
As for now, my boys just woke up.
They did. We got
take care
daddy
of the twins.
daycare. Thank you all so much. We'll see y'all soon.